So on May 3rd, the president will meet with Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian Authority. And here's an interesting fact. They, A, don't recognize the right for Israel to exist. B, there's 36,000 recipients. They reward as a matter of law those people that kill Israelis. I've read over in the year 2016 close to $300 million.
There is, on an annual basis, they're giving often hundreds of millions of dollars to terrorists or the families of terrorists who murdered Israelis, murdered Americans. It's unimaginable. I mean, after a decade, it could be more than $1 billion that are given to terrorists. This is from, I'm not talking about Hamas. I'm talking about mainline Palestinian Authority, headed by President Abu Mazen, who's going to see President Trump in Washington. And I think the first test of peace is to say to them, hey, you want peace? Prove it. Confront terrorism. Stop rewarding terrorism. Stop paying terrorists. And don't finagle the books. You know, what they do is, okay, we won't pay it directly, we'll pay it to somebody else, and they'll pay it to the terrorists, you know, in a sort of circular fashion. No. Come clean on this. Stop paying terrorists.
They have to
repeal the law.
It's a law.
Yeah, on their books.
It's a law.
That not only pay terrorists, this is the crazy thing, Sean. They pay terrorists on a sliding scale. Not on the cost of living, but on the cost of killing. The more you kill, the more you get. And it accumulates to vast sums. Some of it contributed by Americans, by European governments, and so on.
This is important because hundreds of millions of dollars, the United States of America, the average taxpayer, we're giving them hundreds of millions of dollars.
To people who are
then they're giving to terrorists.
And they funnel funds to terrorists who have murdered not only innocent Israelis and others, but innocent Americans.
No.
Unacceptable. Has to change. That's a test for peace.
Lindsay,
by the way, if they change, that's significant.
Well,
that's hopeful.
Why would you think that when he talks about every drop of blood that has been spilled for Jerusalem, we bless it?
Because they can get away with it. You know, if I say something, and not only me, President Trump, President Obama, it doesn't make any difference. In our free societies, in our open, transparent societies, if we say a syllable, I don't even say a word, a syllable, to a domestic audience, to our base audience, then it gets beamed around the world immediately. We're held accountable for every word, for every sentence that we make. That's what our free, transparent society is about. But in the case of Abbas, you know, it's like he lives in a different universe. He can say, I want peace to Western leaders, I want peace, I'm willing to recognize Israel.
So he'll
but
say
then
that
to his own people, he says the very opposite.
So he'll see President Trump on
and you can see how different that is.
So he'll see President Trump on May 3rd,
right.
And he'll say he wants peace with Israel, and that he just needs land for peace, which Israel has tried in the past. But I doubt he's going to say we bless every drop of blood that has been spilled for Israel, which is clean and pure blood, blood spilled for Allah, Allah willing. I doubt that comes up with President Trump.
But here's the test for peace. I'm sure it won't. But here's the test for peace. When you're dealing with such leaders, okay, or with anyone, the true test of their real intention is not what they say to foreign leaders, what they say what they whisper in diplomatic corridors. The real test is what they say to their own people.
Well, that's
and in the case of the Palestinian leadership, including President Abbas, to his own people he says, we don't want a state next to Israel, we want a state instead of Israel. First we get a state, then we flood Israel with the descendants of Palestinians. We go back to Haifa, Jaffa, Tel Aviv, Akko, you know, and so on. That's the end of Israel.
Abbas to his own people.
To his own people.
He also said we won't allow Jews' filthy feet,
right,
as it relates to the Alaska Mosque.
Well, talk about religious pluralism. You know, I make one very important rule, and we keep it. We guarantee full free, unfettered access to the holy sites to Jews, Christians, and Muslims. We never say the Muslims have.
Right in the heart of the old city.
They can go to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and Christians go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
We flew right over it today.
We guarantee the freedom of religion to all with a spirit of equanimity and a spirit of tolerance and respect to all religions. Very different from what they say to their own people.
Maybe
but the most important thing, how can you pay terrorists? Can you imagine?
No.
Can you imagine if you pay terrorists, if we pay? That's totally unacceptable.
But the world pressures you to make peace with Abbas.
Fine. They don't have to pressure me. I want peace. I've been to war.
How do you make peace with this guy? How do you make peace with somebody that pays terrorists and says
peace,
you don't have a right to exist?
You make peace by demanding from the Palestinians to pass a test of peace.
I've got evidence. I've got video evidence, a clip. This is not long ago. This is October 2015. The mother of a killed Palestinian terrorist, a family that is rewarded financially by the Palestinian Authority, celebrates the death of her son's martyrdom, handing out candy, pulling out a knife, threatening her own attack on Israel. And I'll also play for you a clip of October 15th again, 2015 again, a Palestinian Jordanian preschool girl, little preschool girl, holding a knife saying she wants to stab a Jew. Let's play it.
أنا ما بكيتش أعرف وزعلانة ليش ما أخذنيش معاه. لازم محمد أخذني أستشهد معاه وإحنا مش متندمين والحمد لله فخورين وبدي أحليكي بشهادة محمد.
الله يرحمه يا خالتي.
تعيشي. أنا
لا 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 لهون لهون لا 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 لا.
وأنا سلاحها.
لا لا هون
سلاحها. أنا سلاحها مخبي لها إسرائيل. ديري بالك إسرائيل. ديري بالك.
بدي أطعن اليهودي.
ليش بدك تطعن اليهودي؟
لأنه سرقوا أرضنا.
سرقوا أرضنا، بدك تطعنيهم بإيش؟
بالسكين.
يا قوية أنت، إن شاء الله.
Sean, this is what they hear in the Palestinian schools. That's the Pledge of Allegiance that Palestinian teachers, paid by the Palestinian Authority, tell them. This is what they are taught. This is what they're inculcated with. And unless you change that, you don't get to the root of what has been preventing peace. It's this persistent refusal to recognize a Jewish state in any boundary. It's to say Israel will disappear, we'll knife it to death, and we pay the terrorists to do so. That's got to change. Not only for us, but hold the Palestinian leadership accountable. Don't let them get away with double talk. Let them say to their own people what they say to Americans.
Well, I'd like what he said in October 2015. I'd like him to say that to President Trump.
I'd like the
because I guarantee you he will not say that to President Trump.
Okay, how about a different twist? How about if what he says to President Trump, he has to say to his own people? How about if he says, yes, Mr. President, I'm going to change that law, and we're not going to, in fact, our laws will forbid paying terrorists, and I'm going to come back to Ramallah, to the Palestinian areas, and I'm going to change that legislation, and I'm going to make sure that not a penny goes to the terrorists or their families, and I'm going to make sure it doesn't go by circuitous ways either.
Mr. Prime Minister.
That's a change. Sean, I would be happy. You know, prove me wrong. But prove me wrong not by nice words that are said in Washington, D.C. in front of the cameras, but the real test.
Mr. Prime Minister.
Change the way you pay terrorists.
You talk about what they tell
Don't
their
pay
own
them.
people. What I tell my radio and TV audience, and I've said for years, is that for many, many decades now, and I've known you for decades, you have been the sole adult on the world stage with the moral clarity that recognizes the evil in our time. I think the odds of that happening are next to zero. In part, how do you indoctrinate your own children to stab a Jew, like the tape we just played, and expect any other result than a constant, lifelong indoctrination and hatred towards an enemy that you don't even know?
If that indoctrination doesn't change, you're right. If they continue paying terrorists, you're right. If they continue calling in their schools, in their mosques, for the eradication of Israel and for the stabbing of Jews and the Jewish state, you're right. I think that the only chance that this will change is if there's pressure brought to them to make this real change. If there's pressure brought to them to say, no, we're not going to accept just generic words, fluffy words of peace while you indoctrinate your own people with the doctrine of death. We want you to change the way you speak to your own people.
Well,
and stop being terrorists. If you demand that, there's at least a chance that there'll be a change. And I'll tell you, the first one who will welcome that change is me.
You mentioned
because I've been there. I've been in the battlefields, on the battle lines.
you lost your brother, raided in Entebbe.
Yes, and I was in wars, and I was in the wars between wars, in the battle against terrorism. I was shot in a rescue of hostages by our own forces, by the way. That happens in close quarters.
Fire.
It happens. I know the cost of war. There's no one that wants peace more than Israel. This canard that Israel doesn't want peace, that I don't want peace, is exactly that. It's a canard. It's a joke. We teach peace to our children. We yearn for peace. And we don't have double talk, because what we say inside is what we say outside. And everybody holds us accountable. It's high time that that accountability was put on the Palestinians. That you tell them, no, I want to see what you tell your children. I want you to stop paying terrorists and their families. I want to see a change. You know, if that kind of demand for accountability, genuine accountability, is put forward, that could make for a turning point.